My second week, I attended the monthly training, and Dorian, as I was introducing myself to the group, to the meeting, and Dorian kind of shouted out, "I want to be an architect."
He started talking about his grandmother's house. He wanted to rebuild and do community building. And he's been pretty consistent with that ever since I met him. Is rebuilding homes in bad neighborhoods, rough neighborhoods.
I had actually just set up an interview with Cromwell. Clint had called me and said, "Hey, we're actually interested. Would you come down and tell me a little bit more about it?"
We were a little hesitant just because at that time we had a ton of deadlines. It was extremely stressful in our office. But you know, we talked it around and we just figured as long as it didn't prevent those deadlines from being met, there was really nothing that could, you know, be negative from it.
You know, there was just almost immediately such a change in the energy of just where I sat, you know, and that was just day one, having him there and you know, hearing him talking to various people about the projects and what he wanted to do in his community and his neighborhood. But it became infectious almost immediately.
He was right in the middle of the office. Like you walked in, where you walked in those front doors, Dorian was right there. And it just brought a whole lightheartedness, you know, his you know, laughing at things and just his enjoyment of being at work every day. It was contagious. I had people who were working on these terrible deadlines come up to me and say, you know, I was having a bad day. I was just real frustrated, just kind of not enjoying my job. And I went and talked to Dorian, and now I feel better.
People would stop by all the time and visit with him and see what he had going on and ask about the projects that he was working on. And, you know, there was always, I could always see, you know, him physically, he had a lot of energy and, you know, and just, you know, again, the emotional energy that he added to the office was fascinating. It was wonderful.
And I think really as a company, we needed that at that time. It was a brutal period for us and morale wasn't as high as normal. And I think he helped our morale as a company. We had him pin up. We had him present his drawings to a group of architects. We talked about the positives, we talked about the negatives.
I remember one time I'd be showing the architect employees my design as my own presentation. And they seemed to enjoy it and definitely talk about my drawing, and of course, tell me some little details about it.
And it's difficult for anybody to stand in front of a group of professionals and present your work, and he did an outstanding job. To me, that was the day that I knew Dorian could have a future in architecture.
He responded very well to anything that he was guided toward. And I think that was one thing that we really saw a lot of growth with Dorian, is the way he, just the way he interacted with people in the office. I think he really grew in that area through this experience.
You know, it's such an energizing, great thing to be part of the program.
It's an injection of life into what are typically kind of sterile, just traditional, I go to work, I do this, I go home. It's an injection of something more.
It's not your day-to-day regular business. It's not, you're not sitting there at your computer all day. You've got a different sort of, you know, a different reason to be there that day, you know, and you've got this 15, 16-year-old kid or high school kid that wants to know about what you're doing and wants to be a part of it. That's incredible for your people and for the staff.
When you go to work every day, it just kind of becomes the habit. And he broke all of us out of that habit of just going to your desk, doing your work, and leaving. And really, like, the reason he wants to be an architect is what really spoke to us, is that he wants to be an architect to improve a community, to improve people's lives.
That's pretty much has been his desire, unselfish, because it had been about making money like most kids. With him, he wants to go into the home and make the neighborhood looks better.
A lot of times people think because a person has a disability, they can't do certain things.
But I have to say that this experience has opened my eyes dramatically.
they learned a lot, I believe, working with Dorian as well. You know, they probably had never been around a child with autism. So they also got a chance to see his abilities versus, you always hear about a person's disability, what they can't do. So I think that's a great way for businesses to see that people with disabilities can do great things.